We may watch others in business and we're sitting back and observing, but what if every choice you make, you are a part of this ecosystem that contributes, and I'm going to say contributes or doesn't contribute. I would like to open up that conversation of this beautiful magic and miracles that we can have and we be on the planet with and through and as our businesses.
When we deliver these tools of relaxation with business is the future. It is the future because it cannot be sustainable if you're feeding something that creates disease and angst and stress in the body.
Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Choice, Change and Action. You're with your host, Simone Milasas, me, and today we have the lovely, the wonderful Rachael O'Brien. Welcome, Rachael.
Thank you so much, and thanks so much for having me here, and I'm really excited about our topic today.
Me too. And let me just give a bit of background because Rachael is, she's a certified facilitator of access consciousness, and she's also a Joy Business facilitator. She has a lot of different classes that she does in a lot of different, we call them like specialties in access because they're topical, I guess. So, but today, the topic that we wanted to talk about, and Rachael has definitely been tapping me on my shoulder for a little while about this, going, we need to talk about this, because we'd actually like to open this up to some format of a class that we could do as Joy Business facilitators using access consciousness tools. And the topic is basically, it's like business being an ecosystem. And I think that's where Rachael's got some stuff that she wanted to mention, and so do I. And for myself, okay, so let me do this. A few years ago, I went to South Africa and I was on a game drive, and it was a private game drive at this beautiful, amazing place called Londolozi. We'll put that in the show notes. It's incredible. And I was with a beautiful friend of mine, Katerina Valentin, and it was just the two of us, our tracker and our guide. And one of the conversations we had, because he was like, God, it's not hard to get you guys out there, because we would do 4 hours in the morning, come back, and then do 4 hours in the evening. And we were just like, yeah, can we just be out there the whole time? And he was commenting about those different scenarios that showed up and our engagement with the earth and with the animals there. And I guess our appreciation of it and not taking it for granted. And he said, he was telling us about different things and different clients, etc. And obviously, I'm not going to mention names. He didn't actually tell us names, but he was talking about how there's some people who come on a safari, and he said you can tell they're just sitting on the truck and they're watching and they're observing like they are not a part of this. And we started talking about being a part of the ecosystem, because we are. He's like, okay, just because we're in a truck and we're there, it doesn't mean that we are not a part of this ecosystem. And I started looking at that as an analogy, and how often, we may watch others in business and we're sitting back and observing, but what if every choice you make, you are a part of this ecosystem that contributes, and I'm going to say contributes or doesn't contribute. Like your choice will contribute so much, and it could just be ease. It could be joy. It could be money. It could be a possibility. It could be anything. Or not choosing is also a choice, but you're not choosing can also deflate the ecosystem that we live, that we have so available to us on the planet. An ecosystem is not just nature. It's not just the sound of the bees buzzing around the flowers, or the waves coming, lapping down. It's everything. We are a part of this planet, and what are you choosing by being a part of this planet? Are you choosing to be with it, or are you choosing against it? Are you choosing superiority where perhaps you shouldn't? And there's a difference of doing superiority and actually being superior in some areas too. So I would like to open up that conversation of this beautiful magic and miracles that we can have and we be on the planet with and through and as our businesses.
It's so beautiful to hear you talking about this. You know that I came from a very lack-filled background and a lot of disempowerment. And so when you talk about the ecosystem, that everything contributes and the interaction of two people making something greater, and there's this true communion that you have with possibilities and the genuine question of improving someone's living by your engagement with it, which is naturally, we all know this occurs for us. You walk across the street, like you're just living literally by the beach. You walk across the street, and the minute your feet put your feet into the sand, you instantly know that your body, because our bodies can't live without the earth anyways, your body has a sense of peace and a sense of gratitude. And so for me, I know when I walk out my front door into the forest that instantly I have an improvement in energy in my body and the way I live. And so, yeah. And that's
let's expand on that too, though, because you just mentioned the beach across the road from me, and then you mentioned the woods where you currently are now. Okay.
yeah.
Now, if you're listening to this podcast, what I'd like you to do is, because you go, oh, the beach that Simone has there, oh, the woods that Rachel has. This is the best part for me. When Rachel mentioned that, did you tap into the beach across the road from me? And did you tap into the woods near Rachel? Like, were you already aware of that? Whether it was your body or the energy that you picked up on that was in Rachel's body or in my body. And when she spoke about your feet hitting the sand, etc., you have the ability and the capacity to be that energy no matter where you are. Like, the fun fact is I get to, wear no shoes and walk across the road. Even the tarmac that you walk across the road is a little sometimes hard on your feet, or in summer it's friggin' hot. You're like, ow, 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 and then you get to the sand, and then you get to the water, and all of those energies and all of that different vibration and the different energy that all of that is such a contribution to me and my body. But I can access that even just sitting here in my office. You can access that no matter where you are. And what if that is this beautiful, amazing, as I said before, magic, this acoustical wavelength that is just across the entirety of the planet that you have access to no matter where you are. And I'm going to suggest practice that. Like, even right now, it's like practice going, okay, what is Perugian Beach like? What is the woods in near Rachel in Germany like? Like, oh, and let's go even further. It's like, what's it like at Mount Everest? It's like, what's it like in Costa Rica? Or like, I have this beautiful backyard at the moment that we've planted this food forest. What's that like? I'm sitting in my office, but I can tap into the blueberries that we just planted yesterday. Like, you have this ability to have this joy and this appreciation in this receiving of all of it, that it contributes to you no matter what.
And for me, unfortunately, on our planet right now, there isn't that living that's coming through when people go to work. And as a Joy business facilitator, this is one of the things that we deal with, is people come in and their bodies are tired and they're stressed out. And I had a lot of angst in regard to business and money. And through the awareness of the way the ecosystem works, that the tree doesn't get stressed to do its job. The tree sends out its roots for resources, and there's always a source of energy feeding it. And that source of energy, like this tiny seed, becomes an apple tree that's abundant. And so one of the things for me is applying this awareness to the business is, I will sit down in my office and I will look at, so what energies do I require from my business right now? What's required to build it, to make it greater, to get the work that we are so committed to, because it's true for us. It brings a different way of living for us. What is required for this to get out into the world? And when we deliver these tools of relaxation with business is the future. It is the future, because it cannot be sustainable if you're feeding something that creates disease and angst and stress in the body. It is sustainable. It's not a long-term viable way of creating.
I know. I'm laughing because my day was, I mean, it's now my evening, and my day was really interesting. I had, and just, I mean, as you said, we just finished Joy Business Facilitator training, and I had a Business Done Different before that, and it was epic. They were great classes. And I had a really awesome weekend with a friend of mine, just relaxing and doing whatever. Like, it was just so nice. And even finished with yesterday, I had this massage with a masseuse that I've seen forever, and she went, "God, your body is so relaxed." And I said, "I know." And then today, there's a few things that showed up that, and I had an appointment this afternoon, and I saw this, and I've known this person for ages, and she said, "How are you doing?" And I went, "I'm not sure." I said, "I've got this energy in my world where I'm almost like waiting for the shoe to drop, like I'm on guard." And it's like, I don't like people at the moment or this reality. I was like, they sort of suck at the moment, like the points of view. But I was laughing about it because I was like, you're also allowed to have that, right? And I knew that the way I was looking at different things, it was creating a contraction in my body and like in my organs. And it was almost like, if you're filled with happy and ease and relaxation, it was starting to seep out. And I was like, hang on a second, plug the holes, like keep the relaxation and the happy in there. But it wasn't. And I was choosing it. And I was like, okay, I'm choosing this. And after I had this appointment with her, and she's a really cool lady, I was with her for about an hour and a half. And by the time I walked out, I went, okay, I'm choosing this sort of anxious frustration. And what is this? And I realized how much I'm aware of how much is going on, as you said, Rach, in the world and around the place. And I'm a full believer in what the frig is the planet doing today, and what is the solar system doing today, and what is the universe doing today? Like what's going on with that? Because we ride that wave as well. So, but instead of making that angst mine, it's like, okay, what can I be with this? And what, acoustical wavelength of possibilities can I ride today? And then came home and I've been doing a few podcasts or meeting with different people. And it's like changing, like flipping that moment that you can start to go down a bit of a dark hole to, no, that's not my reality. I'm going to choose something different, but not judging it, like really not judging it. So that's why I'm laughing when you said that, because it's like, I was at this weird ass place today that I was just like, what the hell is this? What the hell is going on?
What is going on here? And can we talk about that? Because nature doesn't do judgment of any negative awareness. And so nature says, okay, that's an Australian snake, poisonous one. It's going to bite me. Don't pick it up.
That's funny that we were talking about that. This friend of mine, where she lives, she was talking about this big, huge python that they found at her just next door yesterday. And we were going, yeah, what is it that you invite? Do you prefer like a red belly black or a king brown or a python? Because a python is not really dangerous, right? But they're huge. I'm like, do they have to be that big? When you see them, they're so big. Whereas a red belly black is very dangerous. It can be fatal, right? And that's more what you would see across the road. My place, please come to Australia. I have seen one red belly black my whole entire life. Okay. That's not like they're everywhere waiting for you. But it's funny that you talk about that and they are a part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And we were both saying, neither of us are like, oh no, kill the snake, get it out of here. No, it's not. It's just, hey, this is my home. You don't get to come into my home. Okay. And it's like, you have your area, I have my area. And I continuously have that conversation with animals. Like my house is not always locked, but the screens are shut. So critters can't get in. So, but your awareness of the critters, your awareness of the snakes, your awareness of nature, your awareness of all of that, and how you be with it, like not going against it. And I honestly get too, Rachel, that we know the energy of everything. I know the energy of shark. I know the energy of snake. I know the energy of when there's something that's like, ooh, something's not correct here. That's how nature functions, because it's willing to follow that acoustical wavelength and know when to pivot and know when to change. What if we were doing that with our business as well?
I really love that you said that, because one of the things that I have avoided, and it didn't work, was being willing to be aware of everything that's going on around me, and particularly in the business and in the world. And so with the application of the ecosystem awareness to your business, it's culturally aware too. Like being aware in Australia of the different types of snakes, being aware of the critters, being aware in Germany when I go into the woods at night, you know, that there's deers or pigs, you know, and so and so the cultural awareness of your business too is a massive contribution when you're willing to be aware of the people that you're dealing with and their way of working in the world. And also, one of the things that I'm really looking at is when you honor people, it may not, that honoring may not be returned in this lifetime. We're going wild here now talking about other lifetimes. But you're fostering a future where you are honoring mankind. And that's what I see the ecosystem deliver all the time. And the one thing that I adore about it is everything is extremely aware of what its job is and that it delivers that. And that for me is an exhibition of conscious leadership where I take full authority on the impact of my words and my behaviors in regard to the way I behave in business. Am I always perfect? Absolutely no. I've turned to you many times when I do something stupid or, you know, and then I know that I can change it and I can choose something different, you know?
Me too. But that's, as you mentioned before, Rachel, like, you know, nature includes destruction. It includes all of that. And it's and it doesn't judge it. Like, God, there's my head is just going crazy. There's so many different things, you know, I want to look at here. Because we do judge, like if we look at, I mean, I was even talking to someone the other day about sharks, okay? And I said to them, okay, I had a piece of paper in my hand and I said, okay, if you want to find out what this feels like, what would you do? And they reached over and they touched it. And I said, so what does a shark do? They use their teeth to feel, you know, and it's like, and then we think we're being attacked. And it's like, we're not being attacked. The shark is you literally going, what is this? And feeling you, right? Most people who get bitten by a shark literally get bitten by a shark. That's it. They don't get mauled by a shark. And if you get mauled, you're usually fighting what's going on rather than the shark will let go. Okay. So, but when we tend to fight it rather than going with the flow. Oh, it's about shark attacks now. There's just so much. I'm looking at and if you look at.
Can you apply that to the fight against what it, you know, if you took that principle alone, so the shark tastes with the teeth, like he actually like what is this? And for me, what I'm looking at is so often I've been trained to conclude and to judge what this is instead of being present with no point of view and see what it is and how I can use that, you know? And so we're trained to go the opposite way. This is what this is, and this won't work, or this will work, and go to a conclusion instead of, oh, this is what this is. What is this capable of? What
is this?
Yeah, what is this?
I mean, what if by being in question, okay, so what's this? What do I do here? Like, what can I change this sort of thing? And that, what if like that joy that you have in your world and that wonder and that curiosity that you have in all its forms and shapes is what allows us to be that acoustical wavelength with nature, with the universe, and be a part of this ecosystem. And
and one of the big things that you've said since the day I've met you is, what would you choose if you couldn't fail? And I will sometimes like trip out on that line. And one of the things that I see in nature is there's this continuous movement. You know, the way if you're creating your business and like the enemy of movement is like stopping, starting. And so I see this where you can go on auto cruise, or you can slow down, or you can. And so in nature, in the ecosystem, there's no stopping. There's this continuous movement of energy. And what I see with people is they already conclude that they're going to fail, but you already are in failure if you don't even start. And this doesn't even exist in the ecosystem. I'm like, where did we get this point of view that something's going to fail? Like, worst case scenario, you learn something about the workings of what you created. and you'll walk away knowing that you have more information now than you had before. And it's a very man-made concept, this whole thing of failure, instead of being present. And we talk about spherical awareness and access, like being spherically aware of the way everything works, and then what's required to change for this to work, and getting present with the energies that are required for something actually to work, which is so different from avoiding failure, avoiding this not working, you know?
Profit is how much living you can create when you are willing to create a bigger life. Please join my latest and very low-cost membership with me, Simone Milasas, at the Profit Club. SimoneMilasas.com/Profit Club. No, thank you for talking about this. And it's interesting too, Rachel, because there's so many things on this topic that we could talk about, right? And there's like you keep bringing it back to business, which is great. And as you're talking, I was just realizing I get so enthusiastic and so excited about all of this that I can go off in all these different directions. And I just realized, Simone, relax, because, and that is a major part of this. It's like, if you look at a tree, you know, a tree is in constant creation. Nature is in constant creation. And yet there is a relaxation with nature. And that is number one. If we choose this relaxation, I love that you said the enemy of movement is about stopping. And what we could also add to that is like when you literally give up. And it's like nature doesn't give up. And nature will ask for help. And it asks for help in the most, random of ways. And, like if you look at a forest is diverse. It has diversity. So if you look at your business, is your business diverse? Does it have the diversity? So, and in that diversity, who's assisting who and who can contribute to who? And are you actually asking for help? So, if you look at, you were talking before, it's like if you look at, say, trees and everything, you've got all these different trees, you've got all these different sizes of the trees, etc. And a tall tree is going to receive more sun. It's going to receive the nutrients from more sun. But a little shrub down the bottom is not. But they may require those nutrients of the sun. So what they literally do in the underground root system is ask, okay, and it's like one of them's going, hey, I need this. Oh, I've got some of this. Here you go, and over there, and it will go through the root system. There is so much going on underneath our soil in the earth, and that contribution and that constant movement and that constant contribution that nature is being for each other is absolutely incredible and something to really look at. And I'm learning so much about this at the moment. We even just planted, I've got this food forest, as I mentioned before, in my backyard. And one of the things that we planted yesterday was blueberries, and and I've got these 5 different blueberry bushes now, and looking at them. And I've learned, even because we planted them and they're not seedlings, one of my gardeners, Diego, was saying, it's sort of like a different energy that they require. And I get it. It's like, I've been there just being so grateful for everything there. And he said, because we put them there, right? They didn't choose to be planted there. They did in some way, but we put them there. And he was talking about the different nutrients that they need and different things. He said, get your citrus, get your pineapple, your skin from your pineapple, your lemons, your oranges, etc., and cut them off and lift up the mulch. He said, you'll never see soil in nature that doesn't have anything covering it. Like nature covers itself to protect its soil, right? So Lift up the mulch, put it all in there, and he said, and then that will contribute to those blueberries. And we planted like 12 banana trees in my backyard. And one of the things we were talking about too is, he said, I'm really surprised how well they're doing. He said, a lot of times when you plant a banana tree, their leaves will droop because they're not so happy and they're getting used to their surrounding. And he said, your banana trees have these leaves that are all up. And I said, well, I have been walking around there every day. I touch nearly every plant all the time. And I go, hey, buddy. And I'm just tell them how grateful I am for them, or give them a hug, or do something. And he goes, it works. And I know it works. I know it works. I don't need anyone to tell me that. I just know that the communion that I can have and be with my food forest in my backyard is creating something greater for me. It literally nurtures my body. And if we look at our businesses like that and our projects and the people that we work with, do you actually walk around and show gratitude to the people that you work with? It's like, do you thank them? Do you ask them for help? Hey, you know what? I'm a little stuck here. Could you, lend me some more time or knowledge or something like this? It's like, could you help me
Or,
out?
or you may require rest. Your own energy resources may require a top up, like you this weekend. Can you contribute to this project, because I require to charge my batteries and take some space so that I'm full on energy? Because one of the things that I didn't like initially was there were times that I had a sense that I just didn't have enough energy to facilitate or to be present with people. And then I really had to look at that, what's required for me to have that high energy input, and sometimes it's go away and talk to the trees for a couple of days and build my living energy in my body again, and having someone that can contribute to something when you're not capable of it, because you require to refuel your own energy source, that for me is gold. Like,
We just went to Australia Zoo, and I took Wes out there, who I work with, who's originally from South Africa, lives in Melbourne, and Liliana, who's originally from Mexico and lives in Sydney, right? And so they were up here, and I said, let's go to Australia Zoo. It was so awesome. I mean, I've been there before, but not for years. And part of the, we were feeding the kangaroos, and you can go in there and feed the kangaroos. It's very interesting because they've got a huge area that the kangaroos are, and then you can go up and pat them if you want, or you've got this, roo food, it's called, and you can feed it to them. But of course, a lot of them are like, look at the energy of how you approach them,
yeah,
And,
totally. Yeah.
and then there was this, they have these spaces. I love it. There's this like little mini fence, and it says, please don't annoy us in here. We need our space. This is our space. And it was so cool. And the majority of the kangaroos were in that place where they just had their own space. And then there's this one kangaroo red kangaroos, right? So red kangaroos are rather large. And, I started and I said, it's very interesting to see how people are approaching the kangaroos, because they're doing it with this energy of like something is about to happen, or they're walking in towards the kangaroo like the kangaroo has no choice. Basically, I'm about to get a photo with you, or like, oh my God, the kangaroo is going to do something, And I was like, wow. And Wes and I were talking about how you ride a horse, right? And how you be in communion with a horse. So the kangaroos that we went up and sort of chatted to, etc., it was like, gave them the space. It's like, hey, dude, do you want to chat? Can I feed you something? Can we pat you? And took a moment to approach them. And then there's one guy, male kangaroo, we did, and he was feeding, and it was really cool. You could see this other kangaroo who's an older kangaroo, and he was watching the whole thing. And then you could see him, like the way they move, and he just sort of started to get over to us, came out from underneath that gate, and then came over towards us. And so, but the other kangaroo was just sort of like that, hey. And I was like, I think we need to feed both these kangaroos, or we might end up in a little bit of a kangaroo fight. So we were but the whole energy of how we were being. And then the kangaroo that I had in front of me, he stood up, and it's like when a red kangaroo stands up in front of you, it's a pretty different energy, because it's just like, woof, there's this power and potency that they have, So I stood up, and then I had the food in my hand, and he just put both his paws on my hands and just sat there and ate from me and like looked around. And then the other kangaroo did the same thing with Wes. And there was this, we knew that the energy we were being with these kangaroos was receiving of them, not assuming anything, but they also were receiving from us. And you could tell that they were like, oh, these guys are okay. These guys aren't going to, it's not covered in school kids trying to pat us and do all this stuff. And it was so beautiful to have this energy, to the point that Wes nearly burst out crying when the kangaroo put his paws on Wes's hands. Like, it was so beautiful. And what if we could have that beautiful interaction and engagement? Not just like, if you have that with animals and you have with the earth, great. I'm asking, let's have that with each other. Let's have that
Yes.
with each other around the world. What if we could have that? What would the
Can
world be like?
can I tell you, I've worked with people over the years, and I've got very used to the empowerment process by being around you. And what I mean by that is looking at what I'm capable of, And what I know about people is that when you contribute to them and when you give them space to, like, I'm going to say, to produce their fruits in the work environment, what I've seen is when you give that space and you allow them to come forward with their capacities, by being that contribution, what I have seen people step into roles that nobody knew that they were capable of, and they became stronger and stronger and stronger. And so I genuinely would like this incorporation of ecosystem and the gifts that we can receive from it. I would love if we could really institute that in every business in the world that's looking for it, where we foster that contribution of what someone is capable of instead of diminishing or criticizing. It's a very different way of leadership in the workplace.
Yeah. And yes, and it's a really good point, Rachel. And how do I say this without killing that as well? Because there are so many people that I had a meeting with someone the other day, and I was asking them about stepping into a different role. And then they looked at me and said, "Do you actually think I'm capable of this?" I said, "Yes." And they were like, "Okay." So they took that, and that worked, right? But I do think they're capable, and they heard it and they got it. And then I do think there's a lot of people around the world who aren't asking for it. And if you're not asking for something different,
Yeah.
you can't, as they say, what's that saying? You can show.
You can bring a horse water, but you can't make him drink.
Yes,
Is that
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we send ourselves friggin' crazy if we're trying to make all the horses drink. So for all those people out there who actually desire a drink, let's friggin' go. And it's like, what if now is that time to ride this wave of miracles that is available for us and choose the magic that is possible here on the planet by being a huge part of it and playing in it and with it, with that joy and that wonder and the curiosity.
And I look forward to the application of the awareness of the ecosystems to business.
Me too. Me too. How does it get any better than this? Well, okay, let's look at this podcast, right? So if you look at this podcast, it's myself and Rachel recording this podcast. Now, there's a whole bunch of people, behind the scenes that now do something with this podcast to make sure it gets out there, from, cutting it, getting show notes, to we have people who translate it into different languages. There's graphics, then there's, once it's out, it's like, then there's people promoting it, getting out there, right? There's, an email that goes out weekly. So if you're interested in that as well, we'll put that in the subscription note. There's a lot of different things. Now, if I wasn't acknowledging that, then I'm not acknowledging the ecosystem that we are creating by having all of these amazing, beautiful, phenomenal people ride this, like this acoustical wave of choice. Of choice, change, and action. Aha, that's the name of my podcast. So, but it's huge. And then how does that, and then who knows? Like, so let's say this is translated into German. Okay. Who knows who that reaches out to in German? You don't have this end result of what this looks like. If you are being a part of this ecosystem, it's like, a seed blowing in the wind. You have no idea where this is going to land. Keep going, though. Keep going. Don't give up and don't stop. Keep going. Every choice that you are making today creates a different future, and every action you take creates a different future. And as Rachel said, you have no idea how this is going to end up, or even if you're going to be acknowledged for it. Who cares? Just let's go. Let's be that magic. Yeah. Cool.
Thanks so much for this.
Thank you, Rachael O'Brien. I'm very grateful to have you in my life, and I'm grateful that you are a Joy Business Facilitator, and your amazing ability to perceive things in a different way that creates a level of enthusiasm, not just in you, but in others also. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. So we hope you learned something from this podcast. I certainly did. I always learn more about the way things function when I'm around you. And that's what I love about being alive, that I get to learn new things and about the way they work.
So Rachel, where can people find you?
RachelO'Brien.org, and you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook.
Cool. And we will have all of Rachel's details in the show notes as well. And please check out accessjoybusiness.com. We have many joy business facilitators around the world, facilitating a lot of different classes. The main one we do facilitate is Business Done Different, but there is a lot of other classes and people offering mentorships and people offering private sessions and everything. So don't let your business ideas fade away. Let's blow on them. Let's be the wind and blow on them and see where they can go from here. So thank you for being you in the world. Thank you, Rachael O'Brien, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change, and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.